Then on Sports Central, we go over our next team prediction of this offseason. And it's going to be over the USC Trojans, a team that was 5-1 overall in the 2020 season. And this is a USC team last year that certainly was the best team in the Pac-12 leading up to the conference title game. And of course, this team fell short in the conference championship game to Oregon, which is, once again, still a very weird situation there. I mean, Oregon wasn't even supposed to be in the Pac-12 title game until Washington, of course, fell with COVID. So, but either way, USC still had a great season in 2020, and I'd still consider this team, even though they lost in the conference title game, to be the most talented team in the conference last year. I mean, once again, this team was undefeated in conference play in the regular season. It was just one bad game that took them off of that track. But USC going into 2021 has got a ton of talent coming back, and there's a lot of reason to believe that this could be USC's year in 2021. Why that is what we'll be going over here today. And we're going to get started with USC's final prediction. We'll be looking at your season trends from 2020 to get things started here today. And once again, this team is 5-1, or was 5-1 overall last season, 3-0 in their first 3 games, and then 2-1 in the last 3. Only loss was to Oregon. This team also did not have that easy of a schedule. I mean, if you look at their Pac-12 schedule here, they played Utah on the road. They had Arizona State, which I thought Arizona State, that team didn't get to play a whole lot last season, but they were talented. UCLA, decent team there. Arizona, of course, was not, but either way, USC still played pretty well last season, had a few road games, and this team played very well throughout the entire season. They beat Arizona State by 1, beat Arizona 34-30, beat Utah on the road 33-17, beat UCLA 43-38. They also beat Washington State. Don't forget about that game as well. Looking at your roster preview going to next season, this is really where we can see where this team is going in 2021. And once again, this team returns a ton of great players and outstanding talents on this offensive side especially. You got Keon Slovis coming back, which he could definitely be a top 5 quarterback in the nation going into next season. I like him a ton. He played very well last season once again, 1,900 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and then also a 67% completion rate. So he was very accurate last season, one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the nation. And he also had a pretty good touchdown interception ratio. And overall, I like Keon Slovis a lot going into 2021. But Vi Malapai is also coming back. He was your top running back last season. He put up 300 yards and 3 touchdowns last season. So watch out for him. You also got Stephen Carr. Don't forget about him, your second running back in the backfield, coming back for next season. I like him a lot. He put up 250 yards last season, so you had 2 main running backs last season with Malapai, and of course you got Carr as well. So don't forget about them going to next season. But the receiving core is really where things are interesting. Drake London is coming back. He was your top receiver last season. Amon-Ra St. Brown is not. He was your second wideout. He is now in the NFL. And then, of course, you got Tyler Vaughns, who's your third wideout, is also not coming back. So you've got one coming back there with Drake London. But, of course, if you look at all 3 of those receivers, they were pretty similar yardage-wise. They were all within 100 yards. So you had 3 main receivers last season getting quite a bit of catches. And Amon-Ra St. Brown did have the most touchdowns out of the 3. He had 7 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Drake London and Tyler Vaughns had 3 each. So, but the receiving core does take a couple of losses there. Don't forget about that. Elijah Vera-Tucker, great left tackle, outstanding offensive lineman. He is not going to be back for next season. Do not forget about that loss there. As for the defensive side, you lose 2 defensive linemen and then 2 in the secondary. So you lose 4 total starters defensively. So don't forget about that. But otherwise, looks pretty good for USC. I like this team a decent amount. Keon Slovis is outstanding enough of a quarterback to where, even if he loses a couple of the receivers, I'm not too concerned. So, but once again, the defensive side looks pretty good. Linebacking core looks good. The secondary is taking a couple losses. Same thing with the defensive line. So don't forget about that. But still, I like this team a decent amount going to next season. I think there's a lot of talent here. Is USC a dark horse contender? I definitely say so. If anyone's going to make it to the college football playoff next season in the Pac-12, I definitely say USC is the team. Oregon will be decent. Anthony Brown, it's interesting to see how he's going to do. And then, of course, you got Washington in the background there. They'll be okay. But I think USC is the one team in the Pac-12 this season that I'm pretty certain is going to have a good season. I like Arizona State as well. That'll be a good team. Utah could be a good team. But yeah, I think USC is definitely the team that I'm most confident in to have a good season. I mean, you can't forget about Utah, though. Utah is going to be a good team. But once again, there's definitely talent here, and I like Keaton Slovis especially. He is a big standout player for me, and I think he's definitely a big reason to believe why USC could definitely have a 10 to 11, maybe even a 12 win season in 2021. But looking at your schedule going into next season, you've got a pretty tough schedule, I will say. I mean, you got San Jose State, which they, of course, won the Mountain West last season. They won't be as good in 2021, but they'll still be good. Then you've got Stanford after that. You got Washington State then on the 18th on the road, then Oregon State at home on the 25th. You got Colorado on the road on the 2nd, Utah at home on the 9th, Notre Dame on the road. That's going to be a tough one there. Always a great matchup between USC and Notre Dame, so that'll be a fun game, but it will be a tough one in South Bend. Then you've got Arizona and Arizona State to follow that, California, UCLA, and then BYU to finish out the season. So you've actually got a pretty tough schedule, probably one of the tougher ones in the Pac-12 going into next season. But looking at your September here, San Jose State, I'm going to say easy win for that one. I think San Jose State could be a tricky team there at first, but I think USC pulls away in the end and gets the win pretty easily. San Jose State, though, once again, do not sleep on them. They won the Mountain West last season, so like they're a better team in comparison to like Nevada and Boise State, so that could be a pretty good team there. Stanford, easy win. Stanford's probably going to be one of the bottom half teams for sure in the Pac-12 next year. I don't like them. Washington State on the road, closer one just because it's on the road, and then Oregon State is an easy win. Not expecting much out of the Beavers. So you'll be 4-0 heading into October. Good situation there if you can go 4-0 through September. Obviously, that would be a great look heading into your October. So you'll probably be ranked top 15, I would assume, heading into your October. You're going to take a loss against Colorado, and that's going to be a tough one there for sure. And once again, I mean, you guys may think I'm crazy for picking Colorado in that matchup, but the Buffaloes last season, I mean, that was a pretty good Colorado team last year. I mean, if that team can perform up to that potential once again in 2021, I think Colorado could be a legit contender in the Pac-12. I don't think they'll win any divisions by any means, obviously, but I could see Colorado getting up to 7 to 9 wins next season, which that would be a pretty good team. So that Colorado team, I do think, will be a threat next season, and you will go into Colorado probably favored, but I think the Buffaloes do pull out a pretty close win at home for the Buffaloes. But then you got Utah. Utah is the main competitor, I think, for USC in the South Division next season, so that's probably going to be the toughest team you play in your division. I think you get the win. It's going to be at home for USC. Tough place to play in USC, and I think they get the win. Notre Dame, then you get them on the road. I went back and forth on that one a ton, but I think the Fighting Irish next year are also a team that I think I'm favoring to get up to 10 to 11 wins. So I'm going to pick Notre Dame in that matchup. I like that team quite a bit once again. Even though, I mean, Ian Book's not in town for Notre Dame, but now they got Jack Cohn, which I like Jack Cohn a decent amount. So I'm pretty confident that Notre Dame could be a good team next year. Arizona, easy win, not much to talk about there. So you'll be 6-2 heading into November. Not a bad situation, but I think that this team is definitely also capable of being 7-1 through October. I do think you'll take one loss either in September or October, at least one, more likely 1 to 2. But I think this team is definitely capable of still. I mean, if you beat Colorado, that puts you in a 7-1 situation. So once again, just because I'm predicting Colorado in that matchup doesn't mean that when we get to that date, I'll still pick them. We're still quite a ways away from that matchup. As for November, though, you got Arizona State then on the road. Tough one there. I could see Arizona State being a 9 to 10 win team next season, but you'll get the close win there. So that'd be a big win on the road. Then you got California, UCLA, and BYU in that order to finish out the regular season. Easy wins against all three of those teams. I think you go on a roll through your November, and you're going to move into the postseason really as a hot team because you'll have won 5 straight against some pretty good teams. I mean, UCLA could be a good team. California on the road, I don't know about California. They may be a 5 to 6 win team, but still, that's not a terrible football team there. And then BYU, of course, could be a sneaky challenge. So, but 10-2 will be your record prediction for next season. I think if you can get up to 10-2, great season. I mean, you've got nothing to complain about there. I do think 11-1 is very much within reach. I think 11-1 is just about as likely to happen as 10-2. Once again, that Colorado game is definitely the swing game that I'm that this prediction is on, because I mean, once again, that's almost a 50-50 game there for me. So if you do get the win, that puts you at 11-1 pretty easily. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this USC team. I do appreciate you guys all watching and sticking around. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you guys later.